sure.
So what happens if you don't pay your student loans?
Yeah, default.
What does that mean?
Yeah, so after 270 days missed, now we're going to go into what we call default. Now, there's stages of default. The first time you go in default, you can get out. You can do a consolidation. Well, the program right now, if everybody's listening, is called Fresh Start. It's literally one click. You probably will get out in a few months, right? But that's going to go away, I think, Denise, in like a year, about one more year. So when that's done, it's back to what it was before, which is, are you consolidating if eligible, or are you going to do the 9 payments? It could be $5 payments on time. You know how many people don't make 9 $5 payments and then they never get out? So I met a gentleman, and I was so excited when this Fresh Start program came out. He was in a permanent default. He burnt every option to get out twice. It's 2 options: consolidation, $5 9 times for $40,000. Everybody following? So he was in a permanent default for $40,000, unless he came up with $40,000. And they didn't even want to take payments from him. Like, it was bad. Like, they don't care at this point. He was like, I could do $300 a month. We need $600. Like, they don't have to negotiate with you at that point. So I was so excited when Fresh Start came out, because he was actually one of those people where he literally got what's called a fresh start. He's out of default. Now, if he mess up again, then it's his last.
But like, what exactly? Because it's like, all right, let's say child support, right? If you don't pay child support payments, they forfeit your passport. They can take money from your paycheck.
Yep.
And
so they take money from your paycheck.
In the worst case scenario, they can put you in jail.
Yep.
So what are the
student loans, taxes, paycheck, never able to buy a house.
So they could take money out of your paycheck.
Yeah.
They could take money out of your taxes.
And then home buying with a federal loan product like a FHA.
Never be able to use it.
VHA, no, it's a federal loan. Right. You already burnt them.
So and are there any student loans that don't require a credit check?
For federal? Well, federal loans don't require a credit check. Let's be clear. Like, it's almost like the biggest loan that you'll ever get in America without a credit check. You went to school. You're eligible. You have a high school diploma.
So anybody can get it?
If you have a high school diploma or GED.
It's just limited amounts.
Limited amounts, right? Protective amounts. It's the credit checks don't come in until you're trying to do like graduate plus loans.
Or private loans.
Yeah.
You need it for private loans?
Private loans for sure. Yeah. True story. Before my credit was good, I had to get a graduate loan, and it wasn't good. Yeah. So they denied it. So I wrote an appeal, and I never forget, her name was Keisha. So I knew she was black. Keisha was like, no worries, I got you. And she approved it. Shout out to Keisha. I hope she still worked there.
Yeah, because there's no student loans for grad school.
Well, graduate plus loans or private loans.
Oh, yeah, the private ones.
But they could say no to you, so that's why the story was funny.
Yeah.
I was like, dang, I'm not going to be able to finish my last semester. And then Keisha, I wrote me a little letter. Yeah. She approved it.
So how much money do you need to go to college?
Well, where you going? So community college, I guess what we're talking about, like 20, 25,000. If we're talking about state colleges now, like 60, 70. Now, are we
per year?
No, total.
Okay.
Total.
Yeah.
Are we talking about private institutions like HBCUs? Might be like, what do you say, like 25, 30 a year?
Probably.
Yeah. And again, it's all about your experience. So my game plan was, I didn't go to a HBCU. I went to a predominantly white school. Shout out to Bloomsburg University. And they gave me a whole lot of scholarship. And on the weekends, I went to the HBCU.
So like for parents that has kids now, you would say that if you want to pay for your children's education in cash in 10 years, let's say, you would need at least $250,000 on the safe side. Because that would probably cover a top private school.
If that's where you want to go, yeah. Now, remember, there are certain Ivy League schools that are now saying if you make under, I think the number is $60,000 a year, according to your taxes, they'll give that child a free ride.
So this is crazy, right? Because when you think about all types of debt, especially in business, you can file for bankruptcy. Yeah. Right. There's chapter 11, chapter 7.
No.
Are there any cases where student loan could be qualified in there?
More recently, there have been several successful cases where bankruptcy and federal student loans have happened and occurred. You see different politicians and lawmakers advocating for that. So there is actually and it's so new, it's hard to speak on, but there is about a 15, 20-page packet that you can fill out to apply for your student loans to be included in a bankruptcy. You have to go to a bankruptcy attorney in your state. And you have to go to one that's qualified. And if you are asking them questions and they don't even know that this packet exists, don't pay them. That's my rule of thumb. But there are some good attorneys that are up to the latest information, and it can be submitted now. This is like as of like the last 2 years.
Yeah, because I'm thinking 43 million people in debt.
Yeah.
Repayments are just starting. There's going to be plenty of forbearance, and there'll be plenty of defaults, and some people just won't be able to pay. And so forgiveness programs are great, but everybody won't qualify.
No.
And so some people are going to have to figure out another route. And so I could, in my mind, I don't know if you probably agree, I can see legislation being changed to add this into now.
It's actively being worked on. So I saw the packet.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is very. So the questions they asked were like, tell us about how your student loan debt would impact X, Y. Like, so you have to have time. You want to get a professional to help you answer those questions. And like I said, very rare cases. It hasn't been fully publicized, but it is being approved. Now we're talking like astronomical student loan debt, like $430,000 though. Wow. So that was one of the cases.
So, how does it affect your credit score?
Well, so it's still a debt, and it's not a revolving line. So basically it's like a rock on your credit. That's how I always explain it. And when you start to pay on the principal, like let's say you owe $80,000 and you put extra money, and it starts to shrink, your credit score goes up. It's like, oh, it's getting paid down. But the moment it comes off, so to those of you that all got forgiven, congratulations. But we're going to also hear a negative turn in the next 60 to 90 days. Everyone that got forgiven, their scores are going to plummet, especially when you talk about 150,000 in forgiven, 300,000 in forgiven. So if they were hoping to home buy, it's like, could you do it like today, or could you wait until you see what your new score is?
So when Biden, he tried to have a bigger plan, but the Supreme Court blocked it, right?
Yeah.
A couple months ago. What was that?
So, but that was all, in my opinion, like that was the plan to be blocked. So I'm not a lawyer, and I knew that when I read it when it came out, I was like, oh, this is not going to go through. We were hopeful, but the legislation it went under wasn't the proper legislation. It was too much red tape, too many opinions, too many signatures needed. So the new program is going to come back under 1965 Higher Education Act. That's the one we think is going to be able to be passed under, because Lyndon B. Johnson already sealed the deal.
How much would that?
Well, they haven't, interestingly enough, I know I read it to you, but they haven't given out numbers yet. Okay. But they have been sure to say that if you don't do by December 31st, that FFELP conversion, they're going to exclude about close to 10 million people.
Damn.